me tell you for do see stand and make sure say everything work according to how man say the thing for work, see? Take back yourself and bring back yourself in a one piece. Make sure see you reach. Hear me? Lord of mercy. Hey, Lord of his mercy. Lord of mercy.
Hi, this is Ryan from Clovis for the News. It's the 19th of February 2016, and the election has brought up a lot of topics, especially between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. I won't be voting for either of them, obviously. I won't be voting for any Republican, in fact. I am putting my support behind Vermin Supreme because I think he illustrates good points through his satire, and I think he makes an excellent parody of politics, and I think it's a good point. But as far as this inequality thing that's came up between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, between the gender wage gap and between low-wage workers and minimum wage issues, the problem here is that they demand one thing and do another thing. For Bernie Sanders, he demands $15 an hour minimum wage for everybody in the United States. However, he pays his interns, who he demands to be at least college educated or pursuing a college degree. He won't hire high school graduates or high school people. They have to be at least in college or graduated from college, and he wants to pay them $12 an hour. So, I mean, his excuse, at least from his campaign manager, is that these people volunteer to work for less, but they gain valuable job experience. But how is that different than McDonald's? I mean, I don't think anybody looks at McDonald's as a life career choice, you know. And McDonald's does good things like offers education assistance and different things for their employees. But really the point is that that's an entry-level job. You get in there, you learn some skills, you get a good reference, you develop better work habits, and you move on. Hopefully to college, but if not college, a better job. When I was in jail for marijuana possession, when I was, 21 years old, 20 years old, I got work release and I was pressed to get a job. And the only company that would hire me, you know, in the short time that I had to look for a job, the only place that would hire me was McDonald's. I worked there for 6 months. I was in jail for 8 months. I got work release after my second month in jail. And after that, I worked for McDonald's for 6 months, and it was a great step up from being in jail. You know, I was able to go make some money, get away from jail, eat some semi-decent food, you know, compared to jail. And I went back and, you know, slept there. And then I would do my routine again. And it was a good step up. And it did give me good job experience, a reference, and so on and so forth. And I moved on to do great things. I'm still not college educated, but my last job, you know, I was on salary. My base salary was $68,000 a year plus premium benefits. I did pretty good for somebody without a college degree. And McDonald's was one of my first jobs, one of my first real jobs. I think it was a good step up. But Bernie here says everybody must get $15 an hour, but he doesn't lead by example. He wants to pay his staffers, who are his interns, $12 an hour, while demanding that everybody else pays their staff $15 an hour minimum. I think that's, you know, hypocritical at best. His campaign promises, you get free shit if you vote for me, is, you know, just bribery. It's bribing the voters. It's terrible. And then there is Hillary Clinton, which she talks about this 77 cents on a dollar for women thing, where she's saying that women get paid less than men, and it's basically, you know, compared to a man, a woman gets paid 70 cents on the dollar. Not comparing apples to apples, you know, you got to take into consideration women take breaks from their career to raise children. Women have more leave in their career for either pregnancy or other, you know, issues, maybe their child or whatever. And women have, you know, more risk in the job market because of having to take more time off than men. For whatever reason, you know, women, you know, on average take more time off than men. Men dedicate their whole lives to their career. They have no gaps in their career. They don't take as much time off. And they, you know, end up in, you know, on average with more experience and more career investment than women do. So if you compare apples to apples, a woman who has never taken time off to raise children, never had children, you know, and is, you know, potentially single, you know, without all the different distractions of a family, the census is that women get paid on average like 15 cents more an hour than an adult male does with the same experience. So if you're comparing apples to apples, a woman who's never taken breaks from her career, a woman who has the same education, a woman in the same career path with the same amount of experience and time invested in her career, she's making, like, as far as I understand it, 15 cents more on the hour than a man does. But here's Hillary Clinton. She's saying, she's been tweeting this stuff about, this was in 2014. 20 years ago, a woman made 72 cents on the dollar to men. Today, it's just 77 cents. More work we do. Equal pay, no ceilings. And it's been revealed that she's paying her staffers roughly $15,000 a year less for women than men. And so here's another hypocrisy. It's all just talking points. It's not like they're serious. It's not like they really mean business. If Bernie Sanders wanted to have everybody paid at $15 an hour, he would lead by example and pay his staffers, whether they're interns, whether they're the lowest on the totem pole or not. He would lead by example and pay them all what he wants everybody to get paid, $15 an hour. That he can pay any of them $12 an hour, saying that they gain valuable experience, is, yeah, you can tell where I'm going with this. It's ridiculous. If you want to learn more about the pay gap issue with what Hillary Clinton is talking about, here is a professor from Prager University, and I really enjoy her. Christine Hoff Sommers is her name, Professor Christine Hoff Sommers, and she teaches issues of women's studies, and she is a self-proclaimed feminist. But she explains how this works, how you've got to compare apples to apples. If you're comparing apples to oranges, a woman who's been in her career for 35 years, at age 50, let's say, or age whatever, 55, she's been in her career 30 years, and she's never taken a break. She's never had children. She's invested all that time in her career, compared to a woman who spent 15 years at the same age, 55, and she spent, half of her career raising children, and then she enters the work market. Well, certainly they're not going to be making the same money because they haven't invested the same amount into their career. And she makes these points, a lot of different points, regarding this, to explain why there is a difference, in men to women. If you look at the whole picture, you're going to see the differences and why those differences exist. But if you just generalize it and say, well, all women make this much on average and all men make this much on average, then there's going to be that 77 to $1 discrepancy. But if you compare apples to apples, a woman with the same experience, same education, same amount of time invested in her career, to a man with the same features, in every way, that woman's going to make more than the man. I don't know, this feminist crusade is, not only is it warping society and being destructive and divisive, but it's not being very genuine and sincere. And I think that's where people lose credibility. When people figure this stuff out and they think about it, they see all these movements that people are in for this type of thing, they're not going to give credit to somebody like Hillary Clinton, who makes such a point in her campaign to illustrate this when she's dead wrong, when she's just polarizing the issue and dividing people. It's a terrible thing in politics. And then I looked up a few things where a lot of these liberals, progressive liberals, liberal is a good term. Progressive is where it forks off into insanity. But where these progressives are saying, look at all these Republicans. They've been in politics all these years at a salary of $180,000 a year, and they're now worth $24 million or whatever. Well, Hillary Clinton is worth $33 million, and Bill Clinton is worth, let me just find that here. Bill Clinton is worth over $80 million. Yeah, see, net worth, Hillary Clinton's net worth is $31.3 million, and Bill Clinton is worth an estimated $80 million. They started out pretty average, in their net worth when they were in college. They weren't worth millions. They weren't worth even hundreds of thousands. They were just average. And in politics, all of their life, basically, after all those years, they have somehow accumulated off of a, salary of, roughly, I mean, as a senator, you're making about $184,000 a year, and I think a president's making like $350,000 a year. But I don't know how all of that can add up to being, between the two of them, over $100 million, over $111 million. It's because of cronyism. In politics, you take care of your friends, right? Because we have all these tax dollars coming in, all this money from tax revenue and income taxes and stuff, and then the government has this big pool of money, and they say, well, you're my friend, so we're going to give you benefits. We're going to give you tax breaks. We're going to give you licensing. We're going to give you permission to do this and that because you're our friends or family or whatever. And, if you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. If we just got rid of the income tax like we had before 1913, when the middle class was stronger, when we were number one in manufacturing jobs, and when our country had more wealth, if we go back to before income taxes, then the government can't play crony anymore. They can't give tax breaks because there won't be any taxes to give tax breaks to. They won't be able to leverage, crony favoritism to their buddies in whatever business or whatever industry. If the government has limited power and limited resources, and the private sector have all the power and resources, then government can't play crony. The market balances itself out. What screws things up is the government saying, okay, you're our friend, you get these benefits, or whatever. That's where the problem is. It's the government wielding too much power. Cronyism is not capitalism. And at this point, we're an oligarchy. People like Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, involved in all these industries, making all these millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, being in politics, that's what's wrong with this country. Peace.